Yes, Iceberg's the name.
Hey, it's the Gap Tooth OG. Everybody know me. Quiet on the set, but the weed can't be low key.
Well, Madison Jay, my name is Santana, and over here we have our Before the Fame series. It is such an honor to have you on here. You know,
Hey,
this
I'm honored.
tonight.
I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here with you. So thank you for having me. This is a wonderful platform, in terms of for me to speak and for you to speak as well. So I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, we'll have a dope conversation. You know, everyone's gonna get to know who the Madison Jay is, and I want to know who you are. I've written a review on your music once before, so I was like, I wanna meet who this guy is. You know,
Hey,
Let's-
somewhat not. It's not in the flesh, but somewhat in the flesh. You know what I mean?
right?
So
It's virtual.
yeah, definitely virtual. The new norm.
I hope not.
This is. I think this is what it is. You know what I mean? So
It
it's
might be.
yeah, it definitely is because this is a game changer right here. We're in an era that everything is officially changed. So
Yeah.
I think this is the new norm.
Hopefully not for long. But
Yeah,
let's go ahead and jump right in. So you are a native of Raleigh, North Carolina. Never
yeah.
been to North Carolina.
Yeah, now
They kind
19
of
is in the building. Yeah.
okay. They kind of consider North Carolina kind of like the South, kind of.
Yeah. I would consider it in the South, most definitely.
Okay, cool. So tell us what is like the culture there in North Carolina and in the neighborhood that you grew up in.
Um, well, the neighborhood that I grew up in was the South Side of Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we were talking about poverty. Of course, low income housing. We're talking about rough times, but on the same flip of the coin, we're talking about some very good times and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
good energy in the places in South Raleigh and Raleigh as a whole.
Right.
The culture, it's really a clash of cultures right now because you got a little bit of the old school
Mm-hmm.
clashing with a little bit of the new school. And the old school is just very set in their ways, not want to see things progress, as other cities and other states have progressed. And so therefore, I've always heard a thing from people coming from OT, like, yo, it's like real slow, it's real, they give
Mm-hmm.
it that stigma. And just getting older, I see as politics. Now, mind you, kind of clicking into the political thing, but that's why
Mm-hmm.
politics are important because you got to pass off those progressive ideas, like, like, nah, we're not on that old way. We're trying to move forward. So the culture down here in particular is, it's like I said, it's a melting pot of cultures because you got a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People bringing in culture, homebred culture, and that homebred culture is just unadulterated realness, raw,
Mm-hmm.
nothing else. You know what I mean? And that's just real authentic Raleigh at the end of the day.
Okay, cool. So somebody who's like me, who's never been to no part of North Carolina,
Right.
what would you say is one of like your favorite spots to go to?
My favorite spots to go to,
Mm-hmm.
it's a few. I definitely like to touch up Caps. You know what I mean? Caps
Okay.
Urban Wear. Shout out to the homie Caps. Um, I like to slide through a couple of the studios. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the studios in the city because outside of just recording music at a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these studios, you're gonna get a hub of artists that just kind of, it's a community of artists that you can link up with, build, network with. And the studios also host a lot of events, just for a lot of power building between players in the city. So, I mean, the eateries, it's a few eateries, quite a few, you know what I mean, you can slide through. It's just so many different spots that
Mm-hmm.
different people are going to touch in the city, but, it is what it is.
Okay, cool. So let's just get more into who the Madison J is. So
Yes, ma'am.
when did you decided that you wanted to start, creating music?
Well, I mean, since I was, really a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
just crafting music, of course, with my high school friends and homies and brothers and whatnot. Just that usual you coming to age as a teenager, and it might be sports, might be, but those seedlings are being planted that'll, whether you cultivate it and water it, they'll grow. And I just so happened to keep growing until I got an official tissue as a actual artist, an actual entertainer outside of just writing raps or being a rapper. Like, no, this is something that actually, is thriving and on a business standpoint outside of just as a hobby and a passion. But the fact that, something that is a hobby and passion at the root is something that I'm being able to, reap a lot of benefits and fruits from. So that's a blessing in itself.
So how do you feel that, as an artist, or in particular, they should want to learn the business as well as, being the talent, because like more of the business, like 80% business, 20% talent,
Right,
or
right.
however, vice versa, that people choose to make it 100% either way.
Man,
Yeah.
you gotta want to be able to learn the business, because it'll be so, pivotal on the artist end to learn the ins and outs, so that way, you're not getting screwed over, in the long run. And a lot of artists, just because of our passion and our drive and kind of that word I'm looking for, just kind of, just the fact of you just want it so bad, it's like, forget it, that leads to a lot of, getting mistreated, getting bamboozled, swindled, 52 fake out, however you want to call it. It leaves a lot of that, because
Right.
there's a lot of pariahs in the game, and they want to feast on talent who are just, naive and so hungry that they're willing to trade up some of the most important resources that they have as an artist. So again, it's like, why would you not want to learn those things that, that you could be rich off of at the end of the day? So I know myself, I always strive to make sure that I'm good on the business end and that I'm learning. And I'm always constantly learning. It's not like, oh, I learned this, so I'm good. Now I'm constantly learning every day. It's a new challenge. It's a new lesson to be learned, especially in the music industry.
I definitely agree with that. So speaking of, like, music, I think I was doing my research because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Of
And
course.
like back in 2009, I saw something that your first release project was called Raps Like Wrestling.
Yep, raps like
Were you
wrestling.
like a wrestling fan or something? Let me know now.
Yeah, I mean, and I still am. Just, I grew up on
Mm-hmm.
wrestling. It was just, really pivotal in my childhood. So, it's funny now because this is way before, you had cats like Wale,
Mm-hmm.
West Side Gun, and Conway. They
Yeah.
incorporate wrestling. They've taken it to a whole different level. But I definitely, was I'll say a day one person of taking wrestling and bringing it into hip hop in terms
Mm-hmm.
of creating, like, to where it can be cool,
Right.
not just kind of like something on the side, like, oh yeah, like anime or something like that you gotta like hide from the homies that, because everybody, at some point in life, has watched wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
but that whole era of what I was doing was just trying to be so different. Like, I want to come with a whole different angle than anybody. I'm gonna include wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just at the end of the day, it was trial and error. It was a good idea. Just some
Mm-hmm.
of the execution in retrospect, I could have did way more better. So, at some point, before my career comes to an end, I want to get into that chamber again of where I do some wrestling. Just because, like I said, aforementioned artists have like taken wrestling and hip hop and like kind of took it to a whole nother level now. So
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this,
yeah,
because I'm a
okay,
wrestling fan.
all right, okay, okay,
I grew
okay,
up in the Attitude Era.
yeah.
Would you say who is your from the Attitude Era? Who would you say was your favorite wrestler at that time?
From the attitude there, I'd probably say, I mean, if we're talking, it would be WWE, WWF,
Yeah.
WWE. So I mean, it would probably be, I probably would have to say Stone Cold, but only because he was just like I mean, to this day, you really
Mm-hmm.
not gonna have another talent like that. Like
No.
this, hip hop. He was in hip hop. He was in sports. He was on TV shows, and mind you, he was a wrestler, a
Mm-hmm.
professional wrestler, and he transcended, broke crazy barriers. The Rock did as well, but just Stone
Mm-hmm.
Cold in terms of like just you can't running through. I remember middle school running through the hallways, giving stunners. You know what I mean? Stunner. Like just those type of memories, man. Like Stone Cold really just he shook the whole wrestling world, especially that time frame, the Attitude Era. He shook it
Mm-hmm.
up to where like it'll never be again.
I definitely agree with that. Stone Cold is one of my favorites. However, I would say back in that time, I was like a Hardy Boys fan. Like I wanted to be Lita a lot.
Oh man,
Um,
yeah. Shout out to
because they
Lita
were,
too.
I couldn't do what they did now, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
in my mind, I could.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Hardys. Home state homies. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yep.
Out in Cameron. You know what I mean? Cameron, North Carolina. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely admire the Hardys just coming from the same state and just doing what they did, just being so innovative, daredevils, putting their body on the line like every night, like that takes dedication and sacrifice, and for them to do that, that was just like
Mm-hmm. And they
that's
still
just
do
crazy. Still do, yeah. Matt and Jeff still
to
active,
this day.
deep into almost going into their 50s, and still,
Still pushing.
running in the pack. I love it. I like to see it.
They are running these younger ones out.
Yeah, yeah, and it's crazy, but I like what they're doing in terms of giving the knowledge to the next generation, as
Definitely.
well as still remaining active. Just kind of like a rapper. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind if you in the game, but you got to also give to the next generation because it's just like, all right, man, you had your time.
Time to
Give
sit
give
down.
give to the next, yeah, or
Right.
get or help get pull the next next person up. Like, come on now.
But you have some rappers who they don't want to leave this spotlight. They don't want to help out the next generation as they are continuing to grow. And so this is where conflict between the old heads and the young heads come together, and it's like
Yeah,
they're bashing each other's heads because like you were speaking about earlier, within your city or whatever, and how you like the old heads and then like the younger generation not
right.
seeing eye to eye because the old heads want to continue to do things their way and forgetting that
Exactly.
things are changing, so that you need the new heads to come in and show you something so
Right.
they can be a balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're not
I
listening.
agree. They not. And it's like it's an internal clash because it's like it's always going to be the old and the new. Always
Mm-hmm.
clashing in terms of the old with the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
The new with the youthfulness and the exuberance. So um, but you got to listen to each other. That's where the everything comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to each other. Old listening to the young, young listen to the old. So that way it's just constant rotation because that the young will be old at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of taking heed of that right there. But um, you know,
It'll happen
you
one
know,
day eventually.
hey, it's got to. It's no other choice. It's got to happen eventually at some point.
Mm-hmm. So not only are you an artist, but like I said, I did my research and whatever.
Okay,
But
I
you
like that.
started a company called
Uh huh.
County, right?
Yep. Cook
Um,
County.
tell us about it. Clothing line, all this stuff. I want to know so where I can copy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. All right. So County is the exclusive brand.
Mm-hmm.
Courtesy of myself. It just focuses on all aspects of merchandise. Anything that I can tag my brand